Welcome to Grat's Guide to Anything. This is the 9th in a series on running D&D 5th edition on Roll20 and covers creating an X card pack. So, what are X cards, I hear you ask? Glad you asked. I'll provide a link below the official website, but basically they're similar to a pressure valve or safety valve for RPGs, role-playing games. Well, more particularly RPG players. This is a tool that was developed by John Stravopoulos to allow players who become uncomfortable with what's happening in role-playing scene to do something about it. There are a number of alternate systems available. For example, there's one called Lines and Veils that allow players to decide on lines that are not to be crossed in the narrative and situations that are not to be played out. Instead, a veil is drawn over the event and play continues afterwards. You can use whichever or both systems, whichever you want, whichever works for your group. If you haven't tried either, try X cards first, as in my opinion it's a bit easier for non-experienced players to pick up and doesn't have as many of the pitfalls as Line and Veils can. Regardless of which you use, be aware of your players, especially if you have quieter ones. Talk to them after the session and see if there were things that they wished weren't in the game. Don't berate them for not using the X card, but you may have to implement Lines and Veils as well. Or simply, you, the games master, tap out an X card the next time a similar situation comes up. Don't bring attention to the player who is uncomfortable. Don't even look at them. Just play it as though it's the most normal thing in the world. Again, talk to them afterwards. See how things went. Check if they'll be fine to tap the X card themselves next time. Did using the X card do what they expected? Did really it's okay? Doesn't matter, as long as the players end up being confident enough to be able to play the X card when it is required. X cards centre around the fact that we are all different. Each of us have things that make us feel uncomfortable. Also, sometimes something can be the straw that breaks the camel's back. In other words, we can be doing the same thing we always do, but for some reason this time it's too much. This tool allows any player at any time, and the game master too, to play a card to the game top to stop or pause play. There's never any explanation required, and the person tapping the card is never to be questioned on it, except perhaps for the games master to clarify what exactly was the trigger. They are free to talk about what they did if they want to, and if the games master is unsure exactly what caused the X card, then they are to call the break and chat privately to the player concerned to clarify the situation. Again, you're not judging whether or not they should have played it, but you're just making sure which particular thing caused them to play it. It doesn't take the fun out of the game. In fact, many groups that use the system tend to find that the games become more intense at times. People know there's a safety belt in place, therefore they feel freer to push the boundaries. It's important that the games master demystifies the X card. Encourage people to use the card or cards. Even engineer a situation with someone you trust who is playing, so they will use it on you a couple of sessions into the game. Get together with them and come up with something that they probably wouldn't normally card, but it's still something they don't particularly like, and get them to card you. Now, how you handle this will teach the players if it's safe to play the card or not. So it's important that you handle it calmly, correctly, and in control. To this end, I usually have an X card deck rather than just the X card. What you use Well, it'll be what you are most comfortable with in your game. It's your game. Now, this will surprise people, but the talk that the GM gives at the start of the game, introducing the X card, is actually more important than the cards themselves. It tells your player that it's okay to feel vulnerable. It's okay not to be okay with some things. The recommended wording goes something like this. I'd like your help. Your help to make this game fun for everyone. If anything in the game makes anyone uncomfortable, play the X card to the play top. Just play this card. You don't have to explain why. It doesn't matter why. When we play this card, we simply edit out anything X carded. And if there's ever an issue, anyone can call for a break and we'll talk about it privately. Just play the pause card. I know it sounds funny, but it will help us play amazing games together. And usually I'm the one that has to X card to take care of myself. If you know any anecdotes on using the cards, give one or two. For example, there's a campaign where the GM decided to add in a little romance. The player concerned was fine with it, and quite a steamy romance developed. Right up until the NPCs, non-player characters, full name came out. By sheer accident, the GM had picked the actual name of the player's father. Suddenly, the player couldn't handle the situation. Not, romancing with her father. So she played the card. It was no one's fault. The scene just took a twist that the player was not comfortable with. I personally prefer to use a small set of cards rather than just the X card. There are a couple of reasons for this. Mainly, it just gives more cards and so therefore more opportunities to play a card, so therefore the players get more used to the cards. So therefore, people are more likely to use them. So the safety card set that I usually use consists of the X card. Stop play immediately. The current scene is closed. The DM will determine an outcome. And after a short break, play will continue on from some point in the future. The pause card. Play pauses. The player who paused the game can then choose either to play the X card to abandon the current scene, or the OK card to have it continue after a bit of a break. Can also be used as an AFK card, that's absent from keyboard, when someone needs to quickly deal with something, potty break, grab some popcorn, phone call from the parents, cat peeing on the keyboard. The OK card continues play after a pause card. The M card. More! We want more! Players can encourage each other that whatever they just did made the session better. Keep up the good work. There are some other cards around, but these are the only 4 that I use. Okay, let's get started. Let's start by stating our learning objectives for this video. By the end of this video, you'll be able to set up X cards for a game in Roll20. First, you need to either design or grab a set of card designs and a backing image. In total, you will need 1 backing image for the whole deck and also 1 front image for each card. There are some free ones that you can borrow around the web, and I'll also provide a link below to the set that I created. Next, we log into Roll20. Games, My Games, and then once we find our game we've been using, Grat's test game, we then launch it. Now we select the Collection tab at the top of the right hand menus in Roll20. Scroll down until you see Decks and then click on Add. You should see a new deck added to the list, and surprise surprise, it'll be called New Deck. Click on the name New Deck and a dialog box will appear. So the first thing we need to do is change the name of the deck to X cards. Then we need to tick Cards in Deck are infinite. We need to change the selection to Draw through Deck, Shuffle, Repeat. Then we need to change the next setting to GM plus players choose show front. Ensure discard pile is set to no discard pile. So we scroll down and we'll see the next lot of options, and we need to start off by clicking on add card. Well, then what we're going to do is we're going to give the card a title. Then we're going to drop the image for the card front onto drop a file. We wait until the image appears on the card, then we click on save changes. We're going to do that for each of the 4 cards we're going to add. So the first one, the name of the first one will be X, and the image will drop the image for the X card. Then the next card is going to be called Pause, and we drop the image for Pause. The third card is going to be named OK, and we drop the image OK. The last card is going to be called More, and we drop the image More. Once these have been added, you need to add the back image, and then it's all done. Scroll down until you see the spot to drop an image for the card's back, and drop the image back onto this. Again, wait until the image appears and click on Save Changes. When the deck has been finished, make sure that this deck is listed under Decks on the right. If it has Show as a button next to it, click on this. It should now change to Hide, which is what it should look like. Yes, I know. After a while the reverse logic will become a little easier to follow. Basically, they never tell you what the current state of the deck is, just give you the option to hide the deck if it's currently being shown, or show the deck if it's currently hidden. Well, that's the end of this 9th video. The next video will cover loading your first API, the HTML Builder. See you next time, and thanks for watching Grad's Guide to Anything.